One senior police general, one commission of inquiry, and a sudden removal that raises far more questions than answers. This didn't happen quietly, and it didn't happen by accident. This is Mzansi PoliScope, where we break down South African power, policing, and accountability without spin. If you value facts, context, and hard analysis over noise, subscribe and stay informed. KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head Major General Lesetja Senona has confirmed that he has been removed from his office, escorted out, and stripped of access to his state-issued electronic devices while an investigation into his conduct is underway. The instruction did not come from the Hawks' National Command, but directly from KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. According to Senona's legal team, the incident occurred at the Hawks' Durban offices. Senona and his secretary were escorted out by a police captain acting on the provincial commissioner's instructions. He was ordered to surrender his official equipment and told not to return to the premises. Crucially, his lawyers say Senona has not been formally suspended, has received no written notice explaining the action, and has not been served with disciplinary charges. The timing is central to understanding why this matters. Just days before his removal, Senona testified before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, where he faced sustained questioning about his alleged relationship with controversial businessman and alleged crime figure Vusimuzi Matlala. That testimony placed Senona squarely under public and institutional scrutiny. In its interim report, the Madlanga Commission named 5 senior SAPS officers who should face further investigation. Senona was among those listed. In response, President Cyril Ramaphosa authorized the establishment of a special task team under National Commissioner Fanie Masemola to investigate the officers implicated in the report. Against that backdrop, Senona's sudden removal from his office takes on added significance. This is not a routine transfer, nor a clearly communicated suspension. It is an intervention occurring while a commission-backed investigation is unfolding and while national attention is focused on alleged criminal infiltration within law enforcement. The background, therefore, is not just about one officer and one decision. It is about a policing system under pressure, a commission testing the integrity of senior leadership, and a moment where procedure, authority, and accountability collide.
This is where the story becomes far more complicated and far more consequential. At the center of the conflict are two sharply opposing versions of what justified the removal of Major General Lesetja Senona from his office and whether that action was lawful, proportionate, and procedurally sound. On the one hand, Senona's legal team maintains that what occurred amounts to administrative overreach. Their argument is built on process. Senona, they say, remains a serving officer. He has not been suspended, he has not been charged, he has not been given written reasons for the seizure of his equipment or his exclusion from the workplace. From this perspective, the removal appears extraordinary. In SAPS disciplinary practice, senior officers under investigation are typically placed on precautionary suspension, a step that requires formal notice and justification. That did not happen here. Instead, Senona was physically escorted out of his office and instructed not to return without documentation explaining the decision. That is not a minor technicality. In law enforcement, process is power. But SAPS leadership offers a different explanation, one rooted not in discipline but in security risk. According to KwaZulu-Natal SAPS spokesperson Robert Nechiunda, the events that triggered intervention occurred when Senona arrived at the Hawks offices after hours on a Saturday. Security personnel allege that he bypassed established access protocols, including failing to sign the after-hours register required of all employees. What followed raised further concern.
Senona allegedly parked his vehicle away from the premises and held a meeting with a Hawks member inside his car before entering the building. These actions were observed by security staff and monitored via CCTV. When questioned about his presence, SAPS says Senona chose to leave the premises. As he did so, he allegedly attempted to remove a state-issued laptop and official documents from the building. Security intervened and stopped him. From SAPS's point of view, this moment was decisive. This was no longer about office access, it was about protecting sensitive state information. The concern, SAPS says, was amplified by Senona's own testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, where it emerged that he had previously shared police documents with a private individual. That disclosure, already on the public record, elevated internal suspicions into a broader security issue.
The breach that he committed is that he entered the building outside normal working hours without signing the register. That is the breach of security protocols. Apart from that, it was unusual for him to park a vehicle outside the building and he chose to enter through a pedestrian entrance whilst he's got access into the building through vehicle entrance, and he's got a parking for him where he could park and go to the office.
Are you suggesting there was something suspicious about his behavior?
His behavior was unusual. It raised eyebrows. Parking outside the building and having a meeting for at least 45 minutes inside his vehicle with another kennel raised eyebrows. Him not signing the register, entering the building, raised another eyebrows. So it was unusual.
Who is the kennel that he met in his vehicle for 45 minutes?
He's a colonel who works for the DPCI here in the province. We do not want to be mentioning his name for now, because this is about the general whose activities were a bit unusual for somebody who has full access to the building and who has a parking inside and who does not normally come to the office over the weekend using the pedestrian entrance.
So did the kennel also sign the register or not?
The general and the kennel did not sign the register. Only the secretary to the general signed the register.
Will the police in KZN speak to the kennel? You're saying you don't want to tell us his name now as you are looking into this, but are you going to be asking him questions as well? Because he was present without the necessary protocol as well inside the building with Mr. Senona.
It is procedural that he should be asked questions on why he will choose or opt not to sign the register while accessing the premises outside of working hours.
In other words, SAPS leadership argues that allowing Senona unrestricted access to systems and documents while under scrutiny posed an unacceptable risk. Security officials monitoring the camera systems escalated their observations to Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who then ordered the immediate seizure of Senona's state-issued devices. This is the crux of the conflict. On one side, a senior officer asserting his procedural rights and questioning the legality of informal removal without suspension. On the other, Provincial Command insisting that urgent action was necessary to prevent potential compromise of sensitive information during an active inquiry. Legally, this places the matter in a grey zone. SAPS does have a duty to protect classified information and preserve the integrity of investigations. In exceptional circumstances, access to systems and devices can be restricted even before formal disciplinary steps are taken. However, critics argue that urgency does not nullify procedure. If the concern was security-related, why was there no immediate written directive? Why was there no precautionary suspension issued simultaneously? And why was the action executed through physical removal rather than formal administrative channels? These questions are not academic. They go to the heart of lawful policing. There is also a deeper institutional tension at play. The Hawks are designed to operate with a degree of independence, particularly when dealing with politically sensitive investigations. When a provincial commissioner exercises direct authority over a Hawk's head, especially amid a commission of inquiry, it inevitably raises concerns about command boundaries and influence. Supporters of the intervention argue that rank does not place anyone above scrutiny. If anything, they say, senior officers should be held to higher standards. Allowing a Hawk's head named in a commissioned report to freely access systems could undermine public trust. Critics counter that selective urgency is dangerous. If process is bypassed once, it can be bypassed again, and not always for legitimate reasons. The presence of the Matlanga Commission looms over all of this. The commission exists precisely because of allegations that policing structures have been compromised by criminal networks, patronage, and abuse of authority. Any action taken against officers named in its reports will be scrutinized not just for outcome, but for fairness. This is why the Senona matter has become symbolic. It is no longer simply about whether he breached protocol on a Saturday afternoon. It is about whether South Africa's policing leadership can enforce accountability without undermining the rule of law it is meant to protect. And that tension remains unresolved.
What happens next will matter far beyond one individual. If SAPS leadership can remove a divisional head from his office without formal suspension, it raises questions about internal power limits and whether administrative agency is overriding procedural safeguards. But if the security concerns are validated, especially around the handling of classified information, then failure to act swiftly would have carried its own risks. There is also a broader institutional implication. The Hawks are meant to investigate high-level crime and corruption. When their provincial head is himself under scrutiny, it sends shockwaves through ongoing investigations, internal morale, and public confidence. And politically, this lands at the feet of the presidency. President Ramaphosa's task team, operating under Commissioner Masemola, now carries the burden of proving that accountability is real, not selective, and that seniority does not equal immunity. This is a moment that will test whether South Africa's policing reforms are structural or cosmetic. At its core, this case is not just about Lesetja Senona. It's about how the state balances security, legality, and accountability when the spotlight turns inward. Was this a necessary intervention to protect sensitive information or a procedural overreach that undermines due process? You decide. Share your view in the comments, and let's keep the discussion factual, grounded, and accountable. This is Mzansi PoliScope.